Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5-Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Good evening, Rush Nation. We are back. We are back with another flagship show. It's Danny and I this time bringing through all the discussion points around the tsunami of change is what I've called this, because it feels like the entire landscape is very different to how it was a week ago. But until we get into that, Danny, how are you, mate?
Yeah, well, good. The exactly chaos on top of chaos, it seems to be at the moment.
It's mad that people react like so differently every year to it. And it's like, I can't believe this is the worst thing ever. And you're like, this happens every year. I actually love this type of stuff, because that's when you know when you're actually learning or not, because you've got to think quickly on your feet and try and get players before other people get them. And I think that's when you know whether you're actually any good or not. It's a lot more straightforward if you're just picking the same players every week. Yeah, I think this is why I prefer this type of fantasy football to FPL, right? If FPL, someone goes out, almost sub into the bench.
Yeah.
There's no skill in it, right? There is skill, but it's not as much skill, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone has the same players, and it's how you sort of embrace the variance and find the variance, and you dig into it. It's just understanding situations, like, and we'll talk a little bit about Tampa and the situation with Bucky Irving in a bit, but everyone is leaning one way, and I'm like, well, I'm going the other way.
Yeah,
and I'm going the other way. There's a couple of really good reasons as to why, and I broke it down on our Patreon cast earlier today as to why I'm really leaning that way. But we'll get into that later on. I think what we've got to do is we've really got to kind of take stock of where we are. We're a quarter of the season gone.
Yeah.
So we are getting into this point now where you have to get a bit serious about what we're doing. And, if you're 4-0, life's great. Even if you've lost some players, you can recover and make some trades. We're going to talk about some players you can buy low and make trades for. We can go through a lot of stuff this week and just get a bit better in terms of how we go through. I think I put like 21 trades out there yesterday. Most of them got rejected.
I sold about 15 players yesterday in Dynasty. So I just went through anything that was 0 and 4 or 1 and 3 and thought, right, I'm selling anyone who's over a certain age that I can get money for now, they're gone. I just put in, when we give them all nicknames of what I was looking for each player, and I found that worked really well. Sent it straight out, and then the next minute, everyone's like this, going, I want him. I had offers for the same player from about 4 different people with certain ones because they thought they were getting a bargain. So it's just, for me, it's all about this time of year now is more around the grinding part. It's like it's trying to find the edge with the players, but at the same time, I spent yesterday going through every single kicker, every single DST, and can I get a better one this week? And I must have changed about 20 of each. And if it's just an extra couple of points here and there, might be the difference in winning a match or something. So you're looking for, because the fact you're probably starting a lot of like really average players, you've got to try and find the edge somewhere else as well. So that's what I was doing this week, and I felt it helped a lot last year.
Yeah, I think that, as you said, we had you on the pod last year when you weren't hosting us all the time, and you made a big point on that in terms of like where you can get those efficiencies and those couple of points a week kind of make a can sort of stack up and turn losses into wins. And
yeah,
and I'm a firm believer that you've just got to out hustle everyone in your league in different ways. And I have too many leagues, so there's a few I don't do enough. But I do try where I can, and then definitely if I look at all my leagues, I'm up there in waiver claims and bits, and always trying to recycle the bench. And it was interesting. So we have a couple of years ago, I do this every year, a UK rookie league, and in this one, I think it was last year's actually, and the group just gelled really well. Like it was a really, really good group. And then someone dropped out last minute. It was too late to kind of find someone and bring them up to speed. So I said, well, look, I'll play. And then someone else dropped out the day of the draft. Or I don't even think they showed for the draft. And so I got one of our Patreons, Stevie, jumped in. And so me and Stevie have been in there. And the group are pretty awesome. They formed the WhatsApp group. It's really active. There's chats every day, and I try and join in when I can. And we were in the chats yesterday, and everyone was talking about everyone was talking about like trades, and like they find it really difficult to trade, and they find it really difficult to like make the improvements. And I was just like, well, there was just some advice I've given on this channel for years. It's basically what I threw out, which was, if you've got players on your bench and you've got no intention of ever playing them, why are they on your bench?
Yeah.
Like, if I was speaking to someone the other day and they got basically 6 wide receivers. Like, why have you got 6 wide receivers?
Yeah. I think I just find you sort of need to reset your expectations as well. So like, people spend too much time looking at the how much did I get, what round did I pick them in a draft, and they get too tied up with, I can't swap this guy for this guy because I'll be losing out. But the reality is that you're actually probably going to be winning, because you're getting a player who, even though you might have went in round 7 and you're selling someone in round 4, he's actually outperforming him. Or when you combine, I see one of your trades in one of the leagues today where you've done 4 for 4. So like, individually, some of them might look a little bit off, but when you put them all together, you're getting more points per week. Even though you might have sold your best player, you might have gained the second best, the third best, and the fourth best player.
And that's what happened is in that trade, I'd lost Neighbours, and my wide receiver core was really poor. So I sold Jonathan Taylor. And so like, the person who saw the trade is like, well, you know, I'm serious, because not only am I trading my best player, I'm trading you a player I'm a big fan of, that I've talked about extensively for months, that I'm really high on. So their first thing was skepticism, like, what has changed? I'm like, nothing. Nothing has changed on him. But I look at that team, I've got 2 quarterbacks on the same bye week, which doesn't help me, and they're slightly underperforming. I have a massive wide receiver hole. Like, it's huge. It's a huge wide receiver hole. It's massive. So I went to Puka. So I went for Puka, and I gave him Jonathan Taylor. I got, and it's an IDP league. So I traded an IDP piece because I'm deep at linebacker. So I traded the linebacker where they were weak. So I played to, you're weak at running back, you're weak at linebacker. I'm going to give you a pretty good wide receiver back in Deebo Samuel. I'm going to give you the best running back other than CMC in football. And I'm going to give you a pretty top linebacker, and one that's on the team that you support as well. And I'm going to ask in return for Judkins, Nakua, a tight end, and I got Herbert as quarterback.
Yeah.
And it is a balanced trade, because I'll get more points at quarterback where I've been weak.
You're both better off for it.
And that is it. We're both better off. And that's the trades that you want to do that make sense. And there was a lot of skepticism when I put that trade across, and that's fine. And I just said, it's not a test, it's not a scam. This is just, I think it's a trade that I think just makes sense for everyone. And it was accepted. But, you know, there was some I made a trade to an 0-4 team that I felt I made their team better by taking Barkley off the hands. Yeah. And they just declined it. Like, no counter, nothing. I was like, well, okay. And I just don't think I can give up Barkley. I'm like, you're 0-4.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to do something, pal. Like,
I am seeing some mad ones out there that were like I saw one today, and this is in a league where there's like some of the fantasy points guys are in that league, so it's not like as if no one knows what they're doing. And somebody swapped what's his name, Chase, for Quentin Johnston.
Mad.
But imagine saying that two months ago.
I think it's mad now.
That's what people panic, or they see something, they see 2 good weeks, and they're like, oh my god, this is what it's going to be like for the rest of the year. I've got to get him now, and it doesn't pan out, and who knows what's going to happen. But like, you just see some crazy ones now, because everyone seems to be going into panic mode.
Yeah, and I think that's it. So I'm going to read some of the messages from this chat. All right, so I'm in this WhatsApp group, and everyone's kind of panicking about what's going on. And it was just like, what do I do with waivers? There's so many injuries. I just feel a bit lost. And I was like, how do I sort of manage the situation around of when a player goes down? How do you know which players to pick up in the situations? And I was like, More likely, more than likely not, there's a reason why so many of these players are unowned. I don't love owning lots of pieces of bad offenses. We're talking here about like Miami, New York players, right? Predominantly. I was like, there's always a sprinkle. It feels like Slayton is decent, but he's a very boom and bust player in shallow formats like the ones in this league. He's worth an ad, but not at the expense of a producer on your bench. I also say if you have players who just sit on your bench every week, if they don't carry lots of upside, you should probably refresh. Then I shared a clip from our show on Thursday, which is on our YouTube Shorts, and talked about why you should have more running backs on your bench between weeks, sort of 4 and 10, with the bye weeks and the touches. And we'll cover more of that tonight. We'll go into more depth. And then lots of talk about why I'm leaning into Darren Waller, because I'd rather have tight end. It's more of a differential position than wide receiver. So I'd rather pay more. I'd rather sort of have more Waller than Slayton, but I'll take both or either or. But it's kind of where I was going from. And then I was like, my advice, and I can't really do it in one message, but I'll try. Wide receivers off free agency won't win you leagues, but they can stem the bleed. Running backs off free agency will either win you or lose you your league. Running backs off waivers crown league winners. Wide receivers maybe sneak you into the dance if it all pans out.
Yeah. It all depends what you're playing for, doesn't it? Some people just want to do okay and don't want to be seen to be coming bottom. And then other people it's win or nothing.
And that encapsulates my next message in this chat. It's like you're reading it. And I went, too many people chase floor plays. Too many people chase short-term points without context. Too many people play week to week and don't look at the big picture. Too many people lean into how the rest of the league plays. And then in capitals, to win, you need to differentiate.
100%. Yeah.
And you need to be different. And I said, and I went on and I was like, I would much rather basically come last than come sixth.
So would I.
I'd much rather come last, because at least last ago, I either took a really big swing and it failed, or I just got my process wrong. And that happens. I made a lot of mistakes. Or I ran bad with injuries.
Yeah.
I'll sleep on that. The worst thing you can do when you're sixth is when you're mediocre.
Yeah, it's if you look at it and you go, "Why I could have done this,"
of course.
Or you see players on the waivers that come in and all of a sudden produce, and you're like, "Why didn't I go for them? Because I just played it safe."
Yeah, and it's really fascinating, like when you get into this, because I think for me, too many people are scared of losing, and I think it's a game. Like,
I think it's perception. I don't even know if it's about the scared of losing. I think a lot of people, because there's so many people out there who know each other, they don't want to be seen to be coming last. It's more that side of things. It's like,
maybe you're right.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
you're right.
what it is. It's like, they might think I'm crap if I come last instead of just going all out to win.
And I think for me, and like in this group as well, I'm going to call out this guy Richard, right? Who's in this group. He's a great guy. He was talking about trades he was going to throw out to try and improve his team. And he's like, and he was talking about Devonta Smith, and I was saying like, I was like, yeah, I like if you can get anything for him, then do it. And he's like, I'm going to try and package Smith, and just and then basically he was looking around and he put an idea. He's like, I found a team that is running back short and he's running back deep. So he's like, I might package up Mason, as in Jordan Mason, and Devonta Smith for Jaylen Warren and Jordan Addison. And I was like,
I know what you're going to say. Is that you're going to say you've already got about 10 wide receivers. Why do you need to get more wide receivers?
Well, no, it wasn't. No, he needs a wide receiver. I was just a bit like, it's a very vanilla trade.
Yeah,
like it's not bad, but I'm not sure you really do better. He's 1 and 3. I just assume it's like you might move the needle ever so slightly, but it's like,
yeah,
you kind of like if you need to get 10 points a week, you've got maybe 1. Like if you're gonna make a splash, but he's like, I just want to make a like I want to roll the dice, and you're not really rolling the dice, is what I said to him. I said, look, I just don't like. For me, like, go make a play. Like, if you're going to go and get a wide receiver, go and get one that's got a high upside, or one that's going to be like who's so severely undervalued, that you can then do something with it, because he's really short wide receiver. So I was like, okay, well, look, like for me, I'd go make a play at someone that's really attainable, like a Jacoby Myers or a Jameson Williams, because their owners will be really frustrated, but all the peripherals point to something big coming out of them soon. And then he's like, oh, okay, well, I know that the owner of Myers needs a running back because he has Aaron Jones and he's down. So great. So I said to him, I would package up, Ted McMillan, Smith, Devonta Smith and Mason, and I'd go and get yourself, because you don't need running back, go and get Gainwell because he's usurping up. Go and get Cortland Sutton and Myers, and then you've got your solid running back room, but now you've got real depth at the wide receiver position, because his wide receiver room was Tet, Smith, McConkey's not firing, but he will. And I fully believe this. Washington, Slayton, and Judy. So it's like you kind of snook. Like,
they're all watching us, aren't they? Like, they're all just steady eddies,
right? And that is my point. So at least, like, you've got Sutton, who's got high upside. You've got Myers, who's high upside, and then you're waiting for McConkey to tick. And when McConkey ticks, then you've got a wide receiver core of McConkey, Sutton, and Myers.
Yeah.
And then on the bench, you've got like a Slayton, a Judy. Like, you're okay then. Like, it's better than what you got. And you're giving up a player who you're not starting. And Tet starts, but that's it. And it's like you take it, and he's like, I would never have seen that trade. And I was like, well, it's just the benefit of experience. But if you're going to go for it, go for it. Like, you go make it. Like, if you're 1-3, like one of the players I think people should go and buy right now is Brian Thomas Jr. Like, I think people should lean into that, because his floor, like, we scathed him on this show last week, right? I pretty much painted him as like one of the worst wide receivers that's ever played football, but it's never going to get any worse.
Yeah.
And actually, when you look at the peripheral numbers, they did tick up last week, and it's like, well, the thing with Brian Thomas Jr. is, as bad as he's been, nobody has been any better.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And so it's like, he's a good player. He will figure it out, and when he does, you might as well, like, you could,
a bargain, yeah.
You could get Brian Thomas Jr. right now for what? I don't even know. I genuinely think you could get him for very, very little. Owners will be frustrated.
Depends on the team, doesn't it? Like, if it's someone who's 4-0, they're probably holding him, hoping that he's going to get better. But if it's a 1-3 or a 0-4, then you might get him. Yeah.
What's this? Rumors out. Bears offered Saints 2 trades: Alvin Kamara for a second pick in second round pick in 2026, conditional third and 27th, or Alvin Kamara for DeAndre Swift. Really? I mean, that just seems weird. It's fact check. I love a fact check. I've heard things that he might be on the block, but I'm not seeing it from anyone that's worth a pinch of salt. So, we'll see. I don't know why you would do that trade. I mean, I get why the Saints would trade Kamara. It's all over Bears fans. There you go. Well, of course, the Bears would want Kamara. He's a good player, and Swift isn't. I don't see. For one, I think Alvin Kamara is available for trade. Right? I think that's pretty clear. Saints have got no cap. They're not going to win this year. I don't see anyone in the league paying the kind of money that Alvin Kamara is on. I don't see the picks. Like, no one's giving. If you get Alvin Kamara by trade, you're paying a sixth. Like, you ain't paying a second. There's no chance. Chance.
The rumor I heard, which obviously is just a rumor, but there was that the Chiefs might be looking at him.
I don't buy that.
Yeah, maybe
again. The Chiefs are a great example of everyone links them to trading 4 players because they're in a win window. and then they never do.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time the Chiefs traded anything significant for a player. Like they've got 3 all right running backs. Like they're not going to go from they've just basically created a 3-way committee that's going to do what it needs to do.
Yeah,
they don't need an elite guy.
Just the only issue is their running backs tend to get injured quite a lot as well.
But they've got 3.
Yeah, true. Yeah, well, tell that to Arizona. What are they on running back 4 now, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, exactly that. Like in Arizona, like they're down to like bare bones. Like it's just one of those things, right? You're just like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's funny because we're getting close to the NFL trade deadline, and you get all these rumors. The NFL trade deadline is very rarely a thing.
Yeah.
It always feels like it's bigger than it is, but it doesn't really ever do anything.
But going back to the original point, it makes me wonder, maybe in next week's show or one of the future ones might be worth doing a revaluation of where you see the rankings of players for the rest of the season, because that ties into the trade. You know, like Brian Thomas there, for example, like he was going, he was wide receiver 5 or 6 or something like that. So where I'm not asking you to answer the question now, but like where would he be ranked now? And it's the same with other players. So just so that maybe the listeners get they can readjust their expectations and think, okay, hang on, I didn't realize this guy was going to be so high now, or this guy's dropped a lot, he could be a target, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think there's definitely some stuff we can do there. You posted some really good things in our chat around situations that have changed. Let's probably tackle some of those, because I think some of those are going to help people now. I think we've got the situation in Tampa, the situation in Arizona. We've got the receiver situation in for the Giants. We've got, I think, the situation for the Chargers. The wide receiver situation is interesting there. I think we've got a few pieces, so I'm happy to go wherever you kind of want to go.
We were talking about the Cardinals a second ago about going on to running back 4, but like I've read different ones. I've read, obviously they've got 2 main running backs now, but then there's talk of even a third one being with the Knight as well. So like, I suppose the question is similar to the conversation we're probably going to have about the Tampa, as in, how do you see Carter and DeMarcado's positions in the scheme of things? You know, who's going to be getting the touches in the red zone potentially, and who's going to be the regular runner?
So I think those situations are very different for very different reasons.
But I mean, the conversation, the outcome might be different.
It is. But I also think the situations are very different because
we don't know.
Not to liken it. There was a very clear hierarchy in Arizona where James Conner's the guy, Benson then started getting some touches, and then he became the guy. And then you've got, when you're down to running back 3, running back 4, there's a reason these guys are running back 3 and running back 4 on the team, right? They don't have that dynamism. They don't have that zing to really escalate them. So then you have to look at the relationship that each player has with the team. What I really hate in situations like this is usage, because people will look at it and go, well, the usage is this. When everyone's healthy, that player got usage. Well, they had a defined role. So that defined role carved into that usage. So the situation has changed, so that all of that is irrelevant. It's kind of a moot point. I guess this situation is what I would call a very fluid situation, in the sense of when we've had this situation in the past in Arizona, DeMarcado has filled it. This is not the first time he's been the running back 3 usurped to the running back 1. And when he has filled it, he has filled it admirably. Michael Carter is a player who people are more excited about because of his draft capital, his draft stock. He flashed, but he's never done anything in the game. There is every chance that Michael Carter could usurp DeMarcado. But every time DeMarcado has stepped in to do the job, he's done it, and he's done it well, pretty much. And I think that's why the franchise like him. Now, even that's under different coaches. And I think the franchise like him because he doesn't get paid that much. He's reliable, he's honest, and they keep him around, and he's on pretty cheap wages. And I think they like Carter, and I think Carter gives them something different. But I really think it will be a hot hand situation. I think they'll lean Democado, and I think Democado will be the guy given the initial opportunity. But Carter will get chances, and if Carter takes those chances, he could be at the top of the running back chart there. But he never has done before. That's the concern with Carter. So all these people putting all this money on Carter, they're following groupthink, which is Twitter and all these social media platforms are talking about Carter as, well, Carter was this and Carter was that. It's all from people that invested in Carter in Dynasty in the past, watched his tape, liked him, and was like, oh, well, I know him. It's the known quantity because I've studied him and I've watched him and I was invested in him when he came from college, whereas nobody gave two rats about where Democado was drafted and what his draft capital was because no one scouted him. And it's almost this a confirmation bias. People want it because they want to be right on Michael Carter, even if it's 5 years later on two different teams. Like, no one cares. It's that desire to be right is more important than actually what's going on.
Looking at your rankings, so for example, this week you've got DeMarcado at 26 and you've got Carter at 51.
Yeah, so, and I feel okay with that because I think Carter will get an opportunity and he'll lop upside off. I think for me, if you're asking me right now, who is most likely to be the consistent player at the top of the depth chart, it will be Democado.
Yeah, okay.
And I could see him getting a full workload. I could see him being almost a bell cow for 4 weeks. I genuinely could. Because if you're Arizona at this point of the season, where you were down to 3 backs when you had 5, one of them has pretty much never played in the NFL. The last thing you want to do is play 2 guys and risk one of your 2 guys getting injured. And then you're down to 1. You're better off almost just universally running 1, knowing you're always going to have 1 guy.
Yeah.
And then deal with that if that goes
wrong for them. He'd probably be injured in the next week.
Well, and then that's the thing. I just think Democado is just such it's an unsexy pick, right? Everyone's looking at him and it's like, but I genuinely remember a couple of seasons ago, he finished the season really strong when this opportunity arose when Connor was injured and they didn't have Benson, and that's why they drafted Benson, and he did a good job. And he's a good, solid, very no frills running back. And I just think when you're getting your advice from Twitter, when you're getting your advice from social media, I always think, what's the angle? Why are people pushing this narrative on Michael Carter? And the narrative it's being pushed is it's confirmation bias. They want to be right because they scouted him because he went in the second round of the NFL draft to the Jets, and then Breece Hall came along.
Yeah,
like I just think for me that's why that narrative's being pushed, and I could be wrong, right? I'm often wrong, but it feels to me that's why we're getting a Michael Carter narrative, and people are leaning into it, and that's fine. By all means, hedge. By all means, lean into a narrative that you believe in or don't believe in, or you want to just chance your arm. I don't really care. Like, it's fine. It's okay.
Get both of them.
Yeah, I feel both's a waste, but sure. I mean, you play the game
how big your bench is. But
the bottom line is these guys are RB3 and RB4 for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, even with Democado, if Democado got a full workload, I don't think there's many weeks he's peaking at an RB1 performance.
Yeah, true.
Like, this is the other context. His volume is important, but talent does come somewhat into this. Yeah. That talent is important. There is that little important part of the aspect there that people forget is there's a reason these guys are so far. It's again the same reason I just read out one of those messages. There's a reason why there's a plethora of people out on waiver wires that people don't own. It's not just opportunity. It's just they're not good.
Yeah,
they're not great, and that's fine. That's how that situation plays down in my head. That I think Democado will be a steady Eddie, head down, 3 weeks till the bye. I think they'll just take it easy. They'll probably take some off the run game. Maybe this is a good chance for Marv to probably come out a little bit more. Maybe we see a bit more from Kyler, maybe some design runs from Kyler. Maybe this might be Michael Wilson peeking out. Maybe we'll get more Trey McBride. That's how I kind of see it.
Yeah,
I think the biggest winner of this was probably Trey McBride. So that's my gut telling me on that situation.
So mixing this up a little bit, we'll go from running back to wide receiver. The chaos of carnage, that's the 49ers at the moment. They've just lost the quarterback. They've already lost the tight end. Now they've already had wide receiver 1. Now wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 are all gone. So we're left with the dregs. We've got obviously Mac Jones at quarterback. We've got who else have we got at this point? We've got Robinson. We've got it's getting hard
Kendrick
to
Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne and
MVS.
And that's an MVS, yeah. So again, is this just a void, or are you throwing in a few punts? It's the CMC show, surely. But on top of that, who else is getting touches, or is it the backup tight end, Tongs?
I think Tongs gets a nudge. I don't think it's a huge nudge, but I think he gets a little bit. It's an interesting situation because we don't get this too often, where literally the three. Everyone. They literally, like, none of the wide receivers have ever played together before. The quarterback has done very little work with them. So I'll break the context of tonight's game, right? First of all, let's look at the fact they're playing the Rams, right? The Rams, for me, probably have the best secondary in football. Don't at me. You will have other preferences. That's fine. From a statistical standpoint of fantasy points per route run conceded, this secondary is the best in the NFL. Okay, now style, play, quality. I'm not saying they've got the best cornerback. I'm not saying they've got the best system. But statistically, to start the season, when you look at their three cornerbacks, Quinton Lake is giving up 0.14 fantasy points per route run, which is tied for second best in the NFL. Darius Williams is giving up 0.16 fantasy points per route run, which is tied 9th in the NFL. And then you've got their third corner, Colby Bryant, who's inside the top 15, 0.19 fantasy points per route run conceded. So to put that into context, I think it's pretty certain to me that Pat Surtain is the best corner in the NFL. 0.18 fantasy points per route run he concedes to two of LA's players, statistically at this point, marginally, and it is very marginally better. And one is very marginally behind him. And that's their third corner. So that's what I mean by statistically, they are the best cornerback system in the NFL currently. Could change, but that's where we are. Then you've got Mac Jones, who I rank 27th this week, or 28th. I've got him pretty much at the bottom of my quarterback rankings this week because he won't have any familiarity with these players. He won't really understand their route trees, their strengths, their weaknesses. And then you've got the receivers yourselves. So you've got Bourne, you've got Demarcus Robinson, who's done nothing this year because he's been banned.
But at least he's played in that team before, so he
has, but not really.
Yeah.
And he might have played the team, but he's not played with anyone in that team before. He's certainly not played with Jake Tongs. He's not played with Kendrick Bourne. He's not played with MVS. He's not played with Mac Jones. So he's played with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
it's the only player he's played with.
True.
So that is kind of a moot point. I just look at that system and I think, okay, so let's look at the context of the game. That LA are favored to win by 8.5. It's to be quite a low scoring game. And then you've got three of the best corners in the NFL statistically at this point in time playing. And then you've got a bunch of wide receivers you don't know. So where are you beating them? Well, CMC will play a big part in that in terms of he'll be a bulldozer. You'll get points up the middle and yards, or you get yards up the middle. So Tongs will be involved. So I like the second receiver option, which would be Robinson here, that kind of mid-distance guy who can probably get a bit of yardage up the middle. I think Kendrick Bourne is almost a fade. completely. Like, I don't want to invest in Kendrick Bourne. I don't see a way that he does anything. I've got him in the middle of the three, but only because I think one is the ultimate boom or bust play. I just think Bourne is, and I don't get it. For me, Bourne's the sort of guy that will catch 5 for 40, maybe. Like, that's a top end outcome. So I think Robinson will get some good yardage across the middle, but I don't think he wins out wide. So the only way you're going to win out wide is pace and over the top with a deep ball. And the only one of these players who's going to do that is MVS.
Yeah.
Now, MVS's range of outcomes could be 0, or
he did get us out of a hole last season a few times, so towards the end of the season.
Exactly that, right? And then that's, and part of that maybe is a subconscious confirmation bias that I've seen it and therefore I know it's possible.
Yeah.
But
here's another one for you. Though. What about Sky Moore?
No.
The one that keeps the one, and like obviously I'm no expert, but like the one that keeps jumping out at me is whether they might get Brian Robinson to run more so they can throw more to CMC.
I mean that is possible, but I think, to be honest, I think that what's your situation here if you're the 49ers? You've got to remember the 49ers context here is they're unbeaten.
And they don't want any more injuries as well.
So you don't want any more injuries. You're already 4-0. Like, you're playing with house money at this stage.
Yeah.
So what you probably do is you want to make sure that you're not getting in too much of a hole. I just think their best option in this game is to take shots.
Yeah.
And to go long and to just try and put it over the top and have MVS try and beat one of the guys with pace. That's the only way I see them scoring cheap points. And then I think it'd be a lot of mid-distance yardage.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I had to, I would fade the entire offense. If you're in such a hole that you're just in bits and you just need someone, MVS is the guy I'd pick.
You mean like us in the Kings Classic?
Yeah, like us in the Kings Classic, where we've lost all our wide receivers. Yeah, I just think his range of outcomes is 0 to 20 points, and it is as wide as that. And I will go into that fully aware that he can score 0, and that's fine.
Yeah,
I just think for me, I look at that situation and think I don't want any part of it. And maybe Robinson will do okay. Maybe he'll get a double-digit bang, and it's possible. But it's just such an awkward situation. But you've also got to think that there's no long-term investment in any of these players.
Yeah,
you know, Jennings is going to be back in a week. Pierce will probably be back in a week. Ayuk, I don't know when he's back, but effectively,
Kittle should be back soon as well.
Kittle will be back soon. Who with these guys is really a thing.
Yeah,
Kendrick Bourne was signed because of injuries, so he'll be the first guy cut. Same with Sky Moore. They'll be cut before you know it. The only two players that got any kind of contractual obligation to is MVS, because he's different to every other receiver on the roster, and Robinson.
Yeah.
They must like Robinson because they kept him when he was suspended. And they didn't have to. They could have got rid of him. So those are the two guys. I think Robinson's probably the safe play.
He seemed to pop up towards the end, just in the odd game here and there where they needed.
Yeah, for the Rams. Yeah, he had a few good games for the Rams, but it's just one of those players who's kind of had periods, but he's never had enough games. And again, the context of this is these guys aren't good enough to be starters in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, yes, they can have a big boom week, but if they have a massive week this week, if it's MVS or if it's MVS, if it's Robinson, whoever it is, don't chase the points. Right? If you need to start one of these players this week because the situation's dire and you want to go for it, then by all means, MVS is the guy I would choose. But if you want to go Robinson, fine. I wouldn't touch Bourne with a barge pole. Famous last words. He'd probably go off and score 3 touchdowns tonight. But my point is, it's just, if you want to go for it on a swing, then go for it on a swing. It's fine. But don't chase it after it's happened. Yeah. Because this is such a unique set of circumstances that it's not going to manifest again. So that's my situation on it. But I think the Rams win by probably double digits. I'm all in on Nakua and Adams and Williams to all have good nights tonight.
Yeah, Nakua I got lucky with there because I was doing some of these the best ball Europe drafts, and I was, before its season started, I think I drafted way more Nakur than any other player that I drafted. And he seemed to be going towards the end of it. He seemed to be going later and later. So I've seemed to have loads of them. So far, so good. But changing the subject, we've gone running back, we've gone wide receiver, going quarterback at the moment. What's the name for Dylan? For what's the name? The Rams. So how is that going to go? Because we've lost Tillman through injury. And Joko had sort of dropped off a little bit because of obviously there was more mouths to feed. How's that going to go now with the new quarterback? Because obviously Flacco had his guys that he might throw through. Is this going to change at all, or is it going to stay as it is, do you think?
The way we look at it is the bottom line is, and I covered this on the Patreon cast, is Joe Flacco wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
He wasn't good enough. It's a sub 60% completion rate. He wasn't getting the job done anywhere, right? So the bottom line is a quarterback. The reason you had Flacco there was he was there to make you competitive, and he wasn't. And so he's lost his job. It's perfectly rational. They were throwing the ball. The volume was good. My gut feeling tells me that they probably weren't fully prepared to get Gabriel ready in for this situation. I think they've done it now because it's much easier to hide in an international game. Yes, the media is on, but it's a breakfast game. And I think the Browns can almost shelter him from the pressure of his first NFL start. He's in a foreign country. He's not facing the national media. It's not getting the coverage over in America the way it is here. Yeah. So, and it's like, does it really matter here in the UK, like what people think of the Cleveland Browns? Not really to the people of Cleveland. So I think it's a smart tactic from an organization that I think lacks from a tactical nous every now and again, that they've decided to start their backup quarterback, their rookie quarterback in a situation. It's a very difficult game, but you've almost taken all the pressure off him because, yes, the media will be on him because it's the only game in the slate on, but it's a breakfast game, and it's kind of like you've got the excuse. Well, if it didn't go well, it's a short week. They're in a foreign country. He's not acclimatized. You know, like you can rattle off the excuses quite easily to spin it in a way of, oh, well, it was positive despite whatever it is.
What type of quarterback is Dylan Gabriel? You know, for people who might not have followed him, like is he going to be going for the easy options, or is he more of a, is he going to be throwing it long? You know, who's he going to be looking to target, do you think?
So Dylan Gabriel is a player who probably has more experience in college than any player I've probably ever known. The context of this, he played 64 games in college. He started 63 of them. He attempted over 2,000 passes in college. There's a lot of records that he has in terms of his time. He moved he moved colleges a lot too. Like he started at UCF, then he went to Oklahoma, then he finished at Oregon. He played for good college teams. Although he didn't really do much his last year at Oklahoma was really good, which was his second to last year. He was 10-2, and then he went into the portal, went to Oregon. He went to the starter there at 13-1. So he is coming off the back of some pretty good sort of campaigns in college. The problems with him is this: he is short. He's not 6 foot. That is a problem, regardless of what anybody says. He hasn't got big hands. He's not someone who is he's not someone that's. I'm trying to think of a way to put this. He's just a very average quarterback, and I don't mean that with any disrespect. Like, he doesn't do any one thing well, like brilliantly. He does a lot of things okay. The one thing he has, and it's probably why the Browns drafted him, that makes him a little bit different, is the fact that he can sort of scramble and run with the ball. So, he has over 400 career rushing attempts. So we're not saying he's Lamar Jackson here, by the way. We're just saying that he has the ability to escape the pocket. He's got a bit of speed. He's not super quick, but he's got that scramble ability where he can go and get you a first down. He can go and get you 20, 30 yards in a game, and he can run in touchdowns. He despite his small size, he's not afraid to put it about a bit, which is quite good. Like, he's not scared. The reason I think he's a good fit for the Browns is because he's a bit mobile. So they are predicated on a run-first offense. Quinton Judkins has really come in and hit the ground running, and that will continue to happen. I think the bottom line is, and we look at this, is we don't know who his favorite target is going to be. Ultimately, I think Jerry Jeudy's one of the best route runners in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's just not accurately being thrown the ball. And I think if the accuracy improves, Jerry Jeudy will be better. But I think probably the big change here is Isaiah Bond. I think Isaiah Bond has every chance here to be quite successful, and a player that you got to remember the draft process wasn't drafted because of the off the field stuff. There was a chance he was probably never going to play in the NFL. And for him to get this chance now, I think he looked quite good last week. So I think that Jeudy will be a wide receiver 3 to start. The problem is this week, the London games are always notoriously low scoring. You've probably got to take a touchdown off the board due to the travel, the jet lag, the environment. Everything's weird. So there aren't that many high scoring games in London. There just aren't. They don't happen that often. So the over-under in this game is 36.5 points.
Yeah.
And I think that line is pretty fair. Yeah. We're basically saying this is going to be a 20-16 game. That's kind of where we're looking at this game. It's going to be 20-16 Vikings. That's what the bookies are telling you. So we're going to see maybe, 2 or 3 touchdowns in this game. I think most of them will be in on the ground. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of passing volume. But I think if the big win this week is, what does Dylan Gabriel do? If he can pass at 65%, he gets a couple of 100 yards passing, he doesn't throw too many picks, that's probably a good week. But is there a ceiling play to any of these receivers? Probably not.
So maybe like a Bond as pick him up off waivers, stash him and see how it goes.
Yeah, because if they build a rapport, change a quarterback can change relationships. And you got to remember that Bond was scout team. Dylan Gabriel might have been playing scout team. I don't know what the ordering of him and Shudder was in terms of which one played scout team, which one didn't.
Will it impact the tight ends at all, do you think, or will that just be the same? Because they've been trying to feed 2 of them, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, Njoku's not 100%, so maybe they go with Fanning a bit more. I think the way I would look at this situation is you're probably going to lose maybe 20% of the passing volume. Like Joe Flacco just didn't care. He was just slinging it, whatever. He's a gunslinger. And Dylan Gabriel is not that, because you'll lose 20% of the volume. One, because it will take time for him to acclimatize, so they won't run as many plays.
Yeah.
And then you add the fact that, so that will take some off, right? You'll get a natural drop off. They won't run as many plays. After you've taken that off, then you've got to lose some plays to them probably running the football more, and then also Dylan Gabriel scrambling and running with the football. So when you do that, I reckon the volume drops about 20-ish%. So when the passing volume drops, someone is missing out, or everyone collectively misses a tiny bit. Yeah. I think the tight end situation says to me that one of those guys is going to drop off, or the collective of that room will drop off. Judy's volume is, I think, what it is. A 6-7 target volume is about what we're going to get out of Jerry Jeudy, which is why he's in that sort of wide receiver 3 range for me. I think he's at the bottom end of that.
Yeah.
And I feel okay with that. I think Bond could be someone who can creep up into there if the passing volume goes back to what it was, but it won't for a while.
Yeah,
so, I would look at that and think if Njoku's injured, he's the guy that will probably lose the targets. But They've got to come from somewhere.
They've got Pittsburgh after that as well, so that's probably going to be low scoring. It's the week after that they've got Miami, so that might be the one where they might see a bit more.
If they can get but also you want them to be in games where they're getting blown out.
Yeah.
If they're in games that they were getting blown out, then they'd have to throw the football, and then that actually helps. So these games where it's going to be a low scoring affair doesn't help the fantasy production here, because they're going to run the football and be content with running the football. So, how bad luck is it if you're I'm going to the game on Sunday that you spend £100 to go and watch Carson Wentz versus Dylan Gabriel in a 36-point over and under game?
Yeah, the one in Ireland would have cost me between 270 and 400, and then there was no JJ McCarthy, there was no Aaron Jones, there were all the players who were getting injured beforehand. Okay, we got two more team situations. So we've got New York and we've got the Bucks. So I don't know if you want to go do New York first, to leave your Bucks to last. So we're saying with obviously the Giants, the neighbours dropping, which is absolutely sickening for everyone. Obviously a new quarterback as well. So because I've seen everyone on waivers, Slater's been picked up by everyone. Robinson was already there, so you couldn't pick him up. And then everybody was also, who's the other one everyone was picking? There's people.
Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, there's loads
Theo
of
Johnson.
Yeah, Theo Johnson's a big one. I took quite a lot of Theo Johnson, and I took quite a bit of Slayton, but it was more, I'll get them and then I'll figure out later on if I'm going to start them or not. But it was more get them just in case. It's hard to know what the hell's going to happen here, because the fact it's a new quarterback as well as the neighbours being out.
I actually think it's probably easier than any of the other situations, if I'm honest with you. Jackson Dart is someone who I think is an underbaked prospect. Okay, so I wasn't very high on Jackson Dart. I felt he was, and listen, full credit to go out and what he did to win in his first start. I don't question his determination. I don't question his character. I don't question his personality. I don't question his desire to win or his desire to be great. Okay, none of that is. Every critique I'm going to give of Jackson Dart is football mechanic and maybe temperament related. It's not a besmirch on the man. And I always feel like I have to caveat that, because people take the stuff personally, and it's not. It's a professional criticism. And I know, I get it. I'm not a quarterback. So Jackson Dart is someone who his deep ball is not great, in the sense of it's not accurate. He's very wild with his throws. He goes into hero mode a lot. Do you know the reason why he bonds so well with Jameis Winston is he's effectively Jameis Winston part 2. He will just go into hero mode. He just will try and win games on his own. And he will need to figure that out really quickly, because Jameis Winston never did. And that's why Jameis Winston is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. Jameis Winston had all the talent. He had all the talent to be very successful in the NFL, but he never got the coaching. And that's something that Jackson Dart is going to need. He's going to need to be coached. And that's why I don't like the decision to start him, because actually I think he needed to be humbled a little bit. Not in a bad way, but I think he had to realize, for me, he had to earn it. I don't think he's earning it. And fair play, he's come in, he's won. Pardon?
But you don't rate their coaches either, so you're probably thinking it was.
No, and I actually think for long-term situation, I actually would have preferred him to have waited for a new coach.
Yeah.
Because I think then that way he doesn't risk learning bad habits. We've seen this with Trevor Lawrence, where he got coached by a bad coach, and then he got coached by another bad coach. And the cycle, and now we've got this situation where Trevor Lawrence is not going to fulfill his potential because he's been ruined by coaching. And I kind of just feel like this could be the story for Jackson Dart if it doesn't change. Now, his pure determination won that game. Like, his desire to win is great, and fair play to him. But back to the mechanics and where I think the situation goes is, I think Slayton is a perfect receiver for him. I think Slayton is one of these guys who is just a good, honest pro. He's the kind of guy that will hang around the league for 10 years, put up pretty okay numbers, nothing splashy. He'll never be an All-Pro. He'll never go to the Pro Bowl. He'll never really get talked about in any great column inches as a standout player. But again, there's a reason that the entire offense has turned over and Darius Slayton is still at the Giants. And it's because he's just a great locker room guy. He's a great character.
They're paying him as well, aren't they? So
they are, but he always delivers. Whenever he's asked to, he does deliver. He runs good routes. He's the only guy on that roster that will win outside. So if you look at his contested catches, you look at his separation, he's the only guy on that roster that can do that. So he is the only guy on that roster that has any ability to really impact the box score from a points perspective, like a touchdowns and significant points perspective.
We've got him as wide receiver 43. So just to put that in context, that's around Golden, Hunter, Jameson Williams, Stephon Diggs, Darnell Mooney. They're all in that bracket. And then what's name is actually the next one down, Wan'Dale Robinson as well.
Yeah, and the reason I'm down on both of these players isn't the players. It's a little bit dart and it's a little bit of the game script as well. So
yeah. Okay.
I see them beating the Saints. I don't know why the Saints are favorites in this game. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, as no one watched the New Orleans Saints this year, we're really making them favorites in this game. Like, did no one watch the Giants last week? And I'm not saying they were incredible, but they beat the Chargers. Like, they beat a proper team. Like, but we're making the Saints favorites. I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I have the Giants winning this comfortably.
Yeah,
4 or 5 points, and I'm just down on them because I think they'll run the football. I have Scatterbo really high up.
Yeah, I was just going to say you've got him as 14 Scatterbo this week.
Yeah, so I think him and Singletree will run the ball. I think they'll run the ball. I think Dart will run. I think they'll just run the football. I just think the volume passing of plays will drop because they won't want to give the game away. That's no
Theo Johnson 17 as well, which is higher than what you normally would have him as well.
Yeah, I think he gets a nudge. I just think the passing volume, like for me, if I had to sit there and put a number out, I don't think they throw the ball more than 25 times. And so if I don't think they're going to throw the ball more than 25 times, I then look at where those balls are going to go. And I'd say maybe 7 goes to Slayton and 10 will go to Wan'Dale Robinson. And then you'll get, 6 to Theo, and then you get a couple to the running back, and then you're kind of about there, or just take a couple off, move them around. But that's kind of where I see the distribution. I think Robinson will be the leader in targets, small A dot. I think he'll just keep the numbers, and it will just be really short distance, safe throws. He'll be the out ball for Dart. I think they'll try and score cheap points on a poor secondary, and I think that they will try and get Slayton into positions where they can get that. And Slayton has got quite a wide range of variance for me, because if he wins outside and Dart puts the ball on a dime, he's in the box. He'll score. I don't bank him on scoring this week, but that could be the variation. So like Slayton for me has upside, where I've got him in the 40s, but he could very easily finish.
I actually was looking at something else. You've actually got him higher than that. You've actually got him 30.
Okay.
But the similar players that are around there, though. So you've actually got most of them to do okay this week, I think.
And I kind of think they'll be fine. I just don't see the showstopper, and I just think the passing volume's down. I think they'll be fine. I think they're all okay-ish. They're just not going to, and it's fine, because I think they'll win the game comfortably. It's ultimately the game script. I look at this is they'll run the ball. I think they'll get ahead. I think they'll manage the game well. They managed the game really well last week, the Giants. Like, I'm critical of this coaching staff, and when I'm critical of people, you've got to give them credit where they're due. And the Giants last week managed that game brilliantly. Like, that's how you manage a game of football. When you're not the best team, they outworked the Chargers. That's why they won that game. They outworked them. They put themselves in a position to win, and they executed a plan. And you just have to dock your cap sometimes. It wasn't pretty. It didn't look amazing, but they won. And I just think they'll have too much for the Saints on Sunday.
All right, so we've got one more to go. And I'm going to give you this challenge because I know it's your team. You can't talk for more than 5 minutes about your team. So
Easy.
Because you could be here till tomorrow otherwise. So
no, I could keep this one short. I guess I'd start with the history lesson, right? So, and I talked about this on the Patreon cast, and do go back and listen and then subscribe. You can subscribe for free hitting the link below. Just to talk a little bit about Rachaad White historically, is Rachaad White is a running back who is fine, like he's done okay, but he has never really like shot the lights out in terms of production in the NFL. If we look at 2022, he had 129 carries for 481 yards with rushing yards under expected of 30 across the season with an average yards per carry of 3.7. We look at what he did in 2023. This is important. I promise you I'll get to the point.
What I was going to say, though, is before you went into White, you should really give the context around why we're even talking about it, due to the fact that you think that the Bucs are hiding what's going on with Bucky Irvin. So I want to start with that part first.
I'll start with White. I'm on White, so I'll finish with White, and then I'll get into that. So, yeah, White in 2023 had 272 carries and didn't break 1,000 yards. Hit 990 at an average rate of 3.6 with a rushing yards under expected of 115. And then last year he did improve that, but in terms of rushing yards over expected, for the first time in his career, he had over 4 yards a carry. But he's not been explosive, and that's the problem. Is he's an okay runner, he's a better pass catcher. I personally think, and what you're alluding to is in our Patreon chat, again, hit the link below and you can join it, is I believe that Bucky Irving will not play until week 10 at the minimum. So the Buccaneers are very, very good at hiding information. They did this with Ryan Jensen. When Ryan Jensen got an injury, never put him on IR. He played 1 game in 2 years and then retired. Like he was walking around with a boot. Oh, it's just precautionary. It's just precautionary. Yeah, this is what the Buccaneers do. They are clarifying medical options. Like, clarifying medical options to me is surgery's on the table. It's got to be. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But if you're clarifying medical options with a medical team, someone's brought up surgery.
Yeah.
Has to have done.
The second.
Because why would he not? It's a sprain or a tear. Is not clarifying medical options. It's you need more testing. So they know what this is. I think they're not telling anyone. They're not, and you got to remember the Bucs did this with Chris Godwin. They didn't really disclose any information. Yeah, he's practicing, he's doing this, or he's not really not putting him on IR, even though he missed nearly 4 games. Murf's not putting him on IR, nearly missed 4 games. Like the Bucs do this all the time. They're not honest with, and they don't have to be. The privacy laws and the medical laws. They don't have to disclose what's going on. They're not doing anything wrong. I just think, from my experience with the Buccaneers, he is looking at a reasonably significant injury. And we're talking season ending to IR. That's my gut. Well, they won't put him on IR, by the way, unless it's season ending. But they got a week 9 bye. So they've got a week 9 bye. So you've got 4 weeks. Yeah. I don't think we'll see Bucky Irving. And that's, I think, as a game manager, you've got to plan for that. Yeah. So,
and I wouldn't. I was going to say I wouldn't even have to look at it. Like I would have known straight. You mentioned someone's name. I don't know how many times, so I knew straight away when I heard the rumors about Bucky Irving which one of the 2 that you would be going for before you even said it.
Yeah, and I talked about him on last week's show. I talked about him a lot in months. We've been talking about it.
Yeah,
and again, the Buccaneers aren't honest with injuries, but they're very honest with how they feel about players. This organization can't shut up about players when they love players. All we heard off season was how much these guys love Emeka Egbuka. Is anyone genuinely shocked that he's Rookie of the Month? I'm not. I knew he was going to come out and ball. Like the amount of times Jason Light appeared on a show and talked about how much he loved Emeka Egbuka. They rolled out Bruce Arians talking about how much they love him. Like the Buccaneers, when they've got a guy and they love him, they don't shut up. Now, at the Combine, we heard lots of love for Bucky Irving. We also heard a lot of love for Sean Tucker. What we didn't hear was any Rachaad White talk. This organization likes Rachaad White. Of course they do. They wouldn't hang him. They wouldn't keep him around if they didn't. I like Rachaad White. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's great. And the numbers I've given you there is he very rarely gets 4 yards a carry. He's not a north-south runner. He's a guy they use in screens. They use in end-arounds. He doesn't do particularly, although he has been the goal line back this season. I don't think that's something that trajectory-wise is his future, because he's had that role and he's never banked in a lot of touchdowns. He's had as many receiving touchdowns as he's had rushing touchdowns in his career, and I think that's his future. I think he's the receiving back, and I think Sean Tucker will be the north-south runner. Do I think it happens in week 5 against the Seahawks? No, I think Rachaad White will be the lead back. I think if you're going to listen to my opinion, I would tell you now that Rachaad White will probably have more rushing yards than Sean Tucker in week 5. That's how I've ranked it. I'm not thinking about week 5. I'm thinking about the rest of the season. I think there's a very good chance Bucky Irving doesn't return this season. I think that is well within the range of outcomes. Because I think considering medical options to me sounds like surgery. Surgery at this stage sounds like season ending. I'm not saying that's happening. I don't know. I don't know anyone in the know.
But you're planning for it in case.
But I'm planning for it, right? Yeah. So Sean Tucker to me feels like he's going to be someone who will escalate upwards.
And the thing is, he doesn't cost anything, so you're not really risking much at all, really, are you? You're just taking a plan, and if it doesn't happen, then you just pick someone else. And
we have a body of work where he was exceptional. This guy last year was an NFL Player of the Week.
Yeah.
Where he ran in like 40, he had like nearly 200 yards of production against New Orleans in a ridiculous game last October, almost a year ago. And so this guy is explosive. He has everything. His yards per carry in his career is solid. It's really high. He's fast. Again, he just has everything about him to be successful. He's just behind. He was behind a very good running back in Bucky Irving and a very seasoned professional in Rachaad White. And Rachaad White is very seasoned, but Rachaad White is a great pass catching back. And I think where this backfield will migrate to is the north-south stuff will go to Tucker. Rachaad White will get the receiving stuff. He'll get a few carries here and there. But I think it will start with White being the starter. I think it will be more recognition of his status, but I think they'll say to Tucker, if you want this job, go and get it. And I'm telling you now, he's the better running back. I've seen it. I've watched it. He's the better running back. Statistically, eye test, everything. He's the better running back. So don't stick for mediocrity. Because the other thing is as well, you pick up Rachaad White. Rachaad White is let's say he gets given this role. He is at best a bottom end running back 2. Startable, but you're not going to get a big bang out of him.
Yeah.
He's that at best. Sean Tucker has RB1 upside. If he moves White out the way, he could be a top 12 running back in this league in fantasy football. So
yeah.
And then the second thing is
more than 5 minutes.
I know. Sorry. Well, I'll finish with this point. Is after the bye, if Bucky Irving is out for the season, go and look at the teams the Bucks play at the end of the season.
Yeah.
He's got single-handedly the best back-end schedule of any running back in the NFL. If he usurps to the job, I put this ever so, I'll whisper this. He's a potential league winner. He's a potential league winner. And I genuinely mean that. If Bucky Irving's out for the season, if he moves Rachaad White out of the way, he could win you a league. You can go and get him now for $3.
Well, the point, I was going to make a point because last week we talked around the backup running backs, and there's a lot of, some of them obviously have gone, some of them are still there, but just think about it logically. Like we talked about it, and then within a week, Arizona have lost both running backs. Mm-hmm. The Bucs have potentially lost them, and this is just showing you why you had to get those running backs early and stash them, because this is exactly what happens around this time of the season. And it's all every other day. It's like someone is not trained and they might be out, and you have to future plan. You have to try and get these guys before someone gets injured, and you've already got them. Instead of everyone's now scrambling to try to get them, and they're all trying to get them at the same time. Whereas you've probably had Tucker sitting on your bench since God knows when.
He's everywhere. But on that point, right, and this folds into this. There are 20 players in the NFL right now there's 21 players in the NFL right now who are going to hit 270 touches based on their current production. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So who are the guys who aren't going to get that number? Well, injuries is going to play a big part. Bucky Irving was third in touches in the NFL and running backs.
Yeah.
So he had 90 touches. So he, he's the first one down. Right, so let's go through this list. Christian McCaffrey, Brian Robinson Jr., Saquon Barkley. I'm not that worried about the running back in Philly. They'll just go committee. Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson. Emmanuel Wilson is out there, by the way. So go and add him. You can get him for free because he's not playing this week. So you can just add him. Jonathan Taylor, DJ Giddens, James Cook, Ray Davis. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. He'll be owned everywhere though. Javonte Williams is Blue, Jane Blue. Kendra Miller for Alvin Kamara. Blake Corum for Kyron Williams. Tajee Spears is a place you're going to have right now for Tony Pollard. Bashar Tootin for Travis Etienne. A lot of these are going to manifest and happen, right? Carl Benangai for DeAndre Swift. I think I've mentioned Carl Benangai for 4 straight waiver wire shows. Yeah. Just go and add him. These players that you've got to go and own. And you should go and have at least 3 or 4 of these guys on your bench because I'll tell you now, 21 guys are not going to break 270 touches. It's going to be 8, 10 at a push.
Yeah.
So half that list are not going to hit that number. And that will be, some of it will be winding down touches and just including other guys. Some of it will be injuries.
Yeah. And you've got to guess, which you will not just guess, but you've got to try and logically try and figure out who's more likely to get injured as well. And it could be like a Kamara or someone based off his age. Or the teams that might have nothing to play for and they want to get a look at someone for a few games towards the end of the season.
Of course. And the bottom line is it's and it goes back to something I said in that group chat, and I'll go all the way back to the top of the show. Running backs will crown league champions. Running backs off the waiver wire will crown the league champions. Happens every year.
Yeah.
Whether you pick them up in week 15 or whether you pick them up now, the winner of your league will be the person that picked the right running back off of waivers at the right time. Don't let that not be you because you didn't plan.
Yeah. The hardest part sometimes is there's so many of them of which are the right ones, but a lot of it is just because pure luck based off injuries, and then there are other ones that you can sort of figure it out a little bit as well.
I'll give you a top tip that I do in a couple of leagues every year. Do you know what I do? I rotate them.
Yeah,
I just swap them in and out every week. I'll drop Tucker. I'll get Manungai. I'll drop Manungai. I'll go get Ray Davis. I'll drop Ray Davis. I'll get Jaden Blue. Just rotate them. And you might miss that way, but you might hit that way. It's just like playing roulette. And it is that. So why not rotate it every once in a while? But monitor the touches. That's your best indicator. If you monitor the touches, you monitor the bye weeks. The best form to change is before bye week and after bye week. So look when the bye week's coming up. They'll go hard before the bye week. They'll make changes in the bye week. See what happens post bye week. If the production stays the same, there's not going to be a change. If the production changes, there's a change coming at some point.
Right. So I've got a list of players here, but not necessarily need to go through them in detail. But just to say, per position, a couple of players that you're high on and maybe ones that you're low on, just to give the guys a bit of an understanding. So there's 3 quarterbacks there. You're very high on Justin Fields this week. You've got him as QB3. And you're being high most weeks on Drake May, but he's performing to that level as well. He's QB6. And then the one that catches my eye a little bit based off you is the fact that you've got Baker at 10, where Baker's normally somewhere around that 6 or 7 mark. That's a bit low for you. So I don't know if you wanted to mention anything about any of those 3.
I'll make this really quick. Justin Fields is playing Dallas, probably the worst defense in the NFL. I think it'll be a shootout. So I think he's going to have to ball out to stay with it. Drake May's playing Buffalo, so he's going to have to ball out. But he's played brilliantly. For me, probably the most underrated quarterback in the NFL this season, hands down. I think he's been brilliant. Him and Daniel Jones. Baker's two things: injury, and also he is not completing 60% of his passes. So he's had a significant drop in his completion percentage, his yards, and all these performances that actually the peripheral metrics on Baker don't look great. Part of that is the offensive line that's banged up, and part of that is his weapons have been taken away. But part of it is he's made some bad decisions. He's fine. He's still a top 12 quarterback, but he's not performing much above that. So he's at the bottom end of that for me.
Is that anything to do with losing his coach as well?
No, because he's lost his coach every year. He's used to it by now.
Yeah, but that one got the best out of him, though, I suppose.
I don't know. I think he's been trending upwards. I think he'll be fine towards the end of the season. I think it's just
he needs Evans back as well.
Everything's been destabilizing for him this season, and he's almost trying a little bit too hard. Like in that Philly game, he almost tried too hard in that game.
All right, so running backs, all in the top 15 this week. You've got Hampton at 10, you've got Javonte Williams at 12, Judkins 13, and Scatterbo 14. So that they're all either players that have just come on the scene who are rated highly, or older players that are sort of having a revival a little bit. And then you're low on Kamara at 17, and Chase Brown seems to have gone off a cliff. I sold him in all my dynasty teams this week. He's 23 at the moment. And then there's a few others, but we've already talked about them. Like you've got White and DeMarcado in the top 26 as well. Yeah,
I do. Hampton, they're winding him up. He's getting, and there's no competition. He's just getting more and more usage. So that just kind of makes sense. And, against Washington, there'll be great opportunity for him there. Scatterbo, we've kind of talked about. Yeah. I think the game script of that game. Kamara, it's just the volume. He's not getting it in the receiving game. And then Kendra Miller's kind of come along a little bit. This is half-point PPR as well. If it's full point, he'd probably get a small nudge here. So that's why he's a little bit where he is. It's just hard to put him above some of those other guys. Chase Brown, as you said, that offense is just biblically bad. Like they scored 3 points on Monday. So it's kind of hard to see them winning a game anytime soon. And it's kind of hard to think a player who is massively underperforming anyway to get a better opportunity to be better. It's not going to. It's like a perfect storm of rubbish.
And they might unfortunately for him. And they might keep him for next season as well. But what's the point in running him into the ground? Yeah, exactly. And then wide receivers, you've got JSN at number 3. Chase is down to 9. And then you've got Quentin Johnson 10, Pickens 11, Sutton 12, and Worthy 13. They all seem quite high compared to previous weeks as well.
Lots of different reasons. JSN at 3. He'd be at 2, but I actually like the matchup on Amon-Ra St. Brown and Cleveland and Cincinnati. That secondary is non-existent. It's way for them.
Good DFS play this week, probably.
Yeah, so that's the only reason. It's nothing on JSN. Johnston, the peripherals and everything is great at the moment for him. He's in a real purple patch. I think it will change soon, but I don't think it will change against Washington. Pickens is doing well. He'll get the volume, and that's why he's there. I think a lot of people have him probably a bit higher than that, but against the Jets, I'm just probably a little bit cautious. Sutton the last 2 weeks has been exceptional. I think against Philly, they'll be in a shootout mode. They'll need to put the ball on the best players. And Worthy against Jacksonville.
He looked good.
I mean, he's not been fit, and then he looked really good when he came out last week. So again, best receiver in that game by a mile.
And then you've got your two that are way lower than normal would have been. Well, we've talked about one already, Brian Thomas. The other one was AJ Brown. He could be one that, when you're talking about can you buy someone low that all of a sudden might click later in the season. Like he's down there at like 18 at the moment. He's obviously not got targets, but I know he's starting to kick up a bit of a fuss, isn't he? He's tweeting things. He missed it. These tweets say, not saying much, but implying things. So all of it, it'll either be getting less touches after those, or they might start finding them a bit more.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, but the passing volume isn't there. I did on the Patreon. It could be, couldn't it? Well, I looked at the Patreon and let me pull it up. I'll do it now. So what I did is I looked at quarterbacks throwing the ball in terms of pass depth of target, right? And I'll use fantasy points data for this. Let's get the right chart up. So pass depth of target, right? So this is where they're throwing the football. And I did this more on Aaron Rodgers and why his ADOT is particularly like biblically bad. But it for him reads Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts has thrown the ball only 21 times over 10 yards. Admittedly, 12 of those is over 20 yards, but he's only thrown the ball 21 times over 10 yards, in which he's only completed 11. So, he's basically only 20% of the time he's throwing the ball north of 10 yards. Yeah. So when that's going on, it's really hard to manufacture fantasy points if your receivers are not getting downfield to make plays. And it's as simple as that. It's why Bryce Young and the receivers I'm out on. It's again why I'm out on DK Metcalf. It's why I'm out on a few offenses, but Cam Ward. And it's also why I'm out here on Brown at the moment.
And then the last ones were your tight ends. So Jake Ferguson's having a great season. You've got him with 3. I think you had him number 1 last week.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you've got Hunter Henry back at 5. So he's he drives me mad. Is when I start him, he has a shocker, and when I bench him, he goes mental. He got 40 odd points the other week, and I had him on my bench. Start him the week before and the week after, and he did nothing.
I just think he always scores against Buffalo. Yeah. If there's no other reason than that, I just think he always scores against Buffalo. That's a perception in my head that I just seem to have.
And then you've got Johnson at 6, who's also having a good season as well. And then we've talked about Darren Waller a little bit. You've got him at 13. His points last week were quite high for someone who'd been out for so long as well.
Touchdowns. He didn't get it on anything else but touchdowns.
And then
he's playing Carolina.
And then you're low on Andrews at 18 and then Joko at 19.
I'm out on Andrews.
Yeah, I think AJ mentioned that on something else I was listening to. Actually, the Patreon, I got the first 20 minutes and you were talking about him on that. Yeah, I remember that.
I'm completely out on him. He ran less routes than Isaiah Likely last week. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, I think I mentioned this, that there was a spike week where he had a phenomenal week, and I said, it's because Isaiah Likely was out.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen again while Isaiah Likely plays, and that's basically where we are. I'm out on Andrews in all formats.
Yeah, okay. So that's those ones. The only thing we've got left, and they sort of tie. They may tie a little bit together. Was and the first one we've sort of half covered already. It was what you're doing when you're at 1 and 3 or you're 0 and 4, of just some quick bits of advice of how you. And we've talked about trading side of things. Is there anything else that you would think of if you were down there at the moment?
Obviously, it depends on your team, but I'd go make a big play. Trading one player is not a big play. It's a change. You need a bit of a roster overhaul. So trade your best player, go and get 3 or 4 useful pieces back, and try and get yourself in the hunt and see what happens. So you're going
to the teams that are 4 and 0, or you're looking at the ones that are similar to you and saying, "Do you want to swap some and see how it goes?"
No, I'm actually looking at who I match with. So what I mean by that is who's the opposite of me.
Yeah.
Who if I'm strong at wide receiver and I'm weak at running back, I'm going to the player who's weak at running back, or so strong at running back and weak at wide receiver. Whatever, the opposites of where we are, right? And that's where I'm doing. I'm trying to find the people who I can get some synergy with, where I can trade my bench pieces that are better than their starting pieces, and I can get starters into my roster. So if I can sit here and trade, and again, we go back to that trade all the way at the start of the show, right? Where I talked about, I traded Jonathan Taylor, which is slightly different. I've traded my best player, but I've got Puka back in a position because I can live without Taylor. I've got enough production, especially with Judkins coming in. I've got enough production in that running back room that I'm okay.
Yeah.
But now I've got enough. I've got enough in that wide receiver room just to build a bit of depth in. And I think that's the key. It's just about trying to find, and also Puka Nacua this season's a showstopper piece. Like he's a showstopper. Like he's a potential league winner. So
I
to
was
go and
looking
get
at
him.
I was looking at his stats before, like his actual points per game. So if you all the way up to say Keenan Allen is 9th at the moment in 60. What is he on? 16.3. Mm-hmm. So Puka's over 10 points ahead of him. So he's more than 10 points ahead of every single player, bar 8 players every week. So like it's and like you look at some of them, like he's got, if you compare Puka to Chase, Puka's on like, what is it, 12? He's on almost 13 points more per game than Chase's.
Yeah,
it's mental.
And sometimes you've just got to make the play, and before anyone sort of criticizes why would you trade Puka, why wouldn't you? It's the question. They've picked up 3 players who are instant starters to their team, who are going to be greater than the sum of all the parts of Puka. I wasn't looking for 3 starters, I was looking for 2. So it was a 2 starter for 3 starter kind of deal, but we evened it out 4 players each. So I picked up 2 starters. I improve at quarterback, I improve at wide receiver, and I shipped. And then, I take an 8-9 point haircut at running back, and I lost the depth piece at linebacker. But the other pieces I got kind of all work. It was one of those trades that kind of just suit all parties. Like, she's going to be probably 8 to 10 points better off a week. I'm probably going to be about 12 points a week better off. It's just one of those trades that benefits everybody, and that's why we did it. So those are the trades you need to make. It's okay to make the other team better. It's just, if you make yourself better, look after your own results, and then once you've looked after your own results, then the other thing I would do, by the way, and this is something not a lot of people do, and then we're going to end the show notes here because I said we'd do like an hour, stop at 10 latest. It's 10 past 10. Once the buys start happening,
that was my last point.
There's a way to get extra production, which is effectively you trade for players who have already had their buy. Because if they've already had their buy on someone else's roster, you effectively get extra weeks of production. So if you end up trading a player who hasn't had a buy for a player who has already had a buy, you'll end up net positive in terms of your production. So like next week, if you traded for Tucker Kraft and you traded Jake Ferguson for Tucker Kraft, I'm not saying you should. This is a pure hypothetical situation, and you package some other pieces in there, you're going to get an extra 10 to 12 points out of Tucker Kraft in the week that you would have benched Ferguson.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, make sure when you're making trades, you try and trade players who haven't had their bye week for players who have had their bye week. And then effectively you shrink, you get rid of the bye week. It doesn't exist. So you steal extra points.
So is there, to finish on then, is there any players that you would say sitting out there that you would think, go get them, stash them, and they might cover you over the next few weeks? I hate that
question.
I know, but
the reason I hate that question is because it's so different for every league. Every league is completely different. The bottom answer is no, because in every league you would like to think that anyone that was worth anything would be owned. I would say, like I've talked about Malik Washington for weeks, and I think he's a player. We've talked about Sean Tucker for weeks, and then now these players are irrelevant. I think we are hitting the dregs. I think we're back to Mason Taylor at tight end would be one I'd probably pick up. I think there's an upswing his way. I think
isn't Schultz is starting to get a few more targets?
A little bit. I'm not sure if I'm leaning into that narrative, but if I'm looking at sort of those really deep stashes, I'm just sort of looking here at some wide receivers, and I'm thinking, you could lean into the Washington Nick Westbrook-Akeen situation. I don't really want to lean into that, but sure. Isaiah Bond is probably the one I would sort of shout out across the board. I think you're more likely going to be looking at players who get dropped over the coming weeks. So I think Michael Wilson might be an interesting one with these injuries. I don't think he's in the bag, but I think he'll be okay.
I was going to say, there's a player there that I was looking at his expected points versus what he's actually got. So I can see a player here, for example, who his expected points is 11.3 and he's actually only on 2.4. And you picked him up in one of our leagues. Leggett would be maybe one.
No, because I just think Coca comes back and wipes that out.
But how fit is he, though?
I think he'll be fine in 2 weeks. I don't know. That's the sort of underlying reports. Yeah. But, I mean, to me, when you see something that's that ridiculous of an outlier, it just tells you more how bad the player is.
Yeah.
So I'm just not there on Leggett. We talked about how bad he was last week. I picked him up in a situation where it was just we need to start someone, right? And it's just like I looked at who was left out there in a 14-team league, and it's like there really isn't anyone. Yeah. I would look at players like Rashid Shaheed if there's a quarterback change would be really interesting. I don't know what his ownership numbers are like at the moment off the top of my head, but that's probably one I would lean into a little bit where there's a couple of points, expected points per game variance there that could be leaned into.
What do you make of what's his name? Zaire Scott from Minnesota?
Yeah, I'm just not in on that. I think he's the backup, right? He'll do okay. But if Mason goes down, sure, you might as well go own him. But
he used to be a wide receiver, didn't he?
Yeah, but they're not going to play him at wide receiver with what they've got. They only support 2 wide receivers, really. And you got Naylor behind, and you got who's the other one that's there? It's late, completely forgotten. I'll remember as soon as we shut off. But yeah, I don't think there's I haven't seen them. That was it. They don't need another wide receiver there, so I don't think it's there. The same way that I'm just not interested in guys like Devontae Walker and all these the other stash play I would have, and I've talked about him on the waiver wire and a few others is Luther Burden. I think that breakout's going to come. I think it's going to come in 2-3 weeks. So Luther Burden, Isaiah Bond, they're probably the 2 out there.
Yeah.
If a Rashid Shaheed is out there, I'd probably add him. They're probably the 2 or 3 players I'm kind of looking at and thinking they're the next ones off the line that I think could produce something. I'm just not interested in the players who have had every opportunity and haven't done it. I'm not interested in the Greg Dortches. I'm not interested in the Hunter Longs. I'm not interested in the Luke. Everyone's talking about Luke McCaffrey. I don't see it. Sorry, I'm just not there. Decent player, but he's the 3rd wide receiver for a reason on that team. I'm not interested in DeJohn Bailey. I'm not interested in Tutu Atwell. Let's just stick with where we are. Tutu Atwell is basically the handcuff version. If something happened to Puka, then Tutu Atwell is worth having. But
Christian Kirk.
Passing volume is just too low in Houston. Fine in a deep league.
Yeah.
To get you a safe 6 to 8 points, okay, but I don't see upside. Bond is someone that if the chips fell right, could be a top 36 receiver. The same with some of the other guys I've mentioned. I'm not interested in the Jalen Hyatts. I'm not interested in the ones who haven't done it. I'm only interested in the ones that there's a potential if things go the way they go.
I think we're done.
I think we are done.
I think this is the shortest one, and it's still 100. It's still an hour and 33.
Yeah, it's still too long. Appreciate everyone watching and joining this. Appreciate all the love and support. Do hit the Patreon. Check that out. You can get a week's free access. Listen to the Patreon cast this week. There's so much information in there. It's got tons. I'll try and clip some of it out, and I'll try and put it out on socials so you can kind of see what you're getting. But yeah, appreciate everyone. Should be a really good week. It's going to be a bit of a tsunami this week, and then the next couple of weeks with big pies. Managers benches, get lots of running backs in, take the notes. But the only thing I'll say is the early slate of games on Sunday are absolutely abysmal. There's a lot of really bad football games. So if you're going to the game in London, which I also think is going to be bad, and I'm going to be there, come out, say hello. But also on top of that, yeah, if you're going to miss the start of Red Zone, I don't think you're going to miss much. I think you'll be okay. Until then, go to bed early. Yeah, we'll be back with a matchup show tomorrow. And until then, Rush Nation, don't forget, as always, keep rushing.